Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of r/Entitled People. Today we'll be checking out 4 stories. In the first one, a Karen moves in next door to a farm, and then tries to get the farm shut down because she doesn't like cows. The second one is about a power-tripping substitute teacher. And the third one, as you know from the title, is about a home invader calling the cops on the homeowner for defending herself after he broke in. And the last one is about an aspiring artist stealing other people's art and getting called out on it. So let's jump in, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more daily Reddit stories. This one's titled, Living in the Country. Now, we have all seen that meme with the sign on the farm gate saying something like, "This is a farm. Farms have animals. They make noise. They smell bad. They have sex outdoors. Unless you can tolerate noise, smells, and outdoor sex, do not buy the property next door." I thought this was a joke and no one would actually be stupid enough to need this sign. I was wrong. We actually had just this happen in our area a year ago. In essence, Ken and Karen decided they wanted a property in the bush as a weekend getaway. So they bought a small place that had been a hobby farm on 5 acres just down the road. They did not want it as a farm, so Ken gets to mow 5 acres every weekend. It's important to note that this was right next door to a pre-existing dairy that had been there for years. Dairy cows need to be milked twice a day, every day. So a dairy runs 365 days a year, dawn to dusk. There is noise and mud, cow poo, calving, and bulls and cows doing what needs to be done to make more cows. A dairy never stops. Yet despite seeing this, Ken and Karen still bought their weekend getaway next door. Then they started the complaints. First, it was yelling at the farmhands over the fence when the cows were being driven into the milking yard at dawn. Then hostile letters. Then trying to get all the other neighbors to agree with them. They were well and truly laughed at. Then presenting an official letter to cease and desist, which they had made up themselves. Finally, they tried to go legal, only to find no lawyer would touch the case, and the local council would not stop a rural business from operating legally in a rural area. Finally, Ken and Karen appear to have admitted defeat, and we no longer see them on the weekends. The grass has grown long, and there are for sale signs up. Good riddance. Yeah, how dare you have a farm that you've been running for years? You were supposed to shut it down as soon as we moved in next door. You're supposed to give up your livelihood that's being legally operated, just so we can have a nice weekend getaway without having to look at cows. This one's called Self-Entitled Substitute Teacher Thinks It's Her Classroom. Back in 2008, I once had a sub-teacher try to prevent me from leaving her class after I had finished my work for the day. Class was an hour, and I had finished my work in 25 minutes. I had been reading up on everything up until the class started, so everything was quite literally fresh in my mind, so I soared through it. At the time, our principal had set up something called Productivity Week, which was trying to promote productivity in students by rewarding extra hard studying by allowing them to leave early if they had completed their work for the class early. I got up, walked up to the desk, put my answers into the in tray, walked back to my desk, grabbed my bag silently, and started to walk out the door. The teacher stops me and says, "Where are you going?" To the library. I read up for the next class. "No, you're not. Class isn't over yet. Sit down." "Yes, I am. We're allowed to leave early if we finish our work before the end of class. It's part of Productivity Week." I then point to the giant effing banner over the desk that explains it all. This is my classroom, and I don't believe in that. Sit down quietly until the end of class. I just start laughing and walk out. Sub tried to reprimand me and have me sign a thing that pretty much said I would have to stick to a pre-approved plan to change my attitude and behavior. These were called a behavioral contingency plan, and were very common at my school. I picked it up, walked out again, and straight to the principal's office with her in tow, to the front desk, and asked the lady if I could speak with the principal. Very politely, I might add, and she said she'd buzz him out. The principal comes out from his office, and I say, "Hello, sir, could I get your opinion on this BCP? The principal responds, "OP, what's this about?" And the sub-teacher says, "OP walked out of my class when we weren't even halfway through the class hour." And I say to the principal, after I had finished my work, "This is still Productivity Week, isn't it?" Principal responds, "Yes, of course it is." "Sub, I told you about this when you came in this morning." Sub responds, "I don't care, it's my classroom, and I don't want that hogwash making my students think they can leave whenever they like." Principal says, "Sub, that's enough. I don't care if you don't agree with it. This is what's happening, and it's not your classroom. It's the regular teacher's class. We'll continue this in my office. OP, you can go to lunch." "Yes, sir. Bye," I said. I don't know what happened after that, but I never saw her again in the remaining 2 years I was there. This substitute teacher was on a total power trip. It really gets under my skin when there's people like this in the education system whose priority is not educating students but rather trying to be an authority towards them and trying to enforce inane rules just for a sense of control. And in this case, OP wasn't even breaking any rules, this sub was just dumb. And this one's titled, Burglar Calls the Cops Because the Homeowner Wasn't Doing Things Right. This story is actually narrated to me by a friend of mine, and is a quick tale about how she turned the tables on a home invader. At the time this happened, my friend was raising her child by herself in a suburb off in Texas. The area they lived in wasn't particularly safe, with wild beasties of both human and animal kinds, so friend armed herself with a small pistol and took some gun safety classes to protect her small family. The years go by, child is now 5, and there was a series of break-ins in the neighborhood. So friend hired a security company to install security cameras around her home. One day, while reviewing the footage, friend noticed a strange man lurking around the house. He seemed to wander around a bit and then wandered away, so friend shrugged and carried on with her day. Nothing to worry about, right? Turns out, she was wrong. A few days later, friend was working in her home office and saw the same guy walking down her driveway, opened the gate, and entered her backyard. Friend realized the kitchen door was open. The child was playing in the living room. Friend grabbed her gun from her purse and ran to the kitchen, and got there as the guy calmly walked through her back door. The guy just sauntered in and looked around the room to see friend standing there with her gun pointed at him. The guy froze. Friend says, "Who the F are you and why are you in my house?" The guy gulped, grabbed his phone, and dialed 911 and said, "Help! I'm standing in this kitchen and some crazy B-word has a gun pointed at me." Friend was stunned, but didn't put her gun down, while calmly telling her child to go play in their room, then stood there, not moving, while staring down the guy who refused to leave. The guy says, "You are gonna get it when the cops show up, B-word." And my friend responds, "You are in my house, get the F out." The guy actually stayed standing there until the police came into the kitchen. The guy saw the cops and started screaming, "Arrest her, she's crazy. Look, she has a gun on me." Friend put down her gun and started shaking. "This is my house, you broke in." The cops stopped and stared, looked at the guy and said, "You broke in?" And the guy responds, "Well, her door was open, and then she pulled a gun on me. That's not how it works. Arrest her for having a gun." And friend says, "I have a license, and this is Texas, you idiot." The cops arrested the guy, who was still howling how friend didn't do it right. Apparently she wasn't a proper victim. Friend gave the cops a copy of the video of him sniffing around earlier in the week. She never heard anything back from them, so she figured he went to jail. If this actually happened, this is hilarious. This guy probably just panicked, and the first thing he thought of doing was calling the cops. But it must not have clicked in his head until it was too late that, wait, I'm breaking into this person's house. Maybe I shouldn't call the cops on this person holding a gun on me. And in true American style, as Americans love to say, you're on my property, so I can shoot you if I want. Plus, like they mentioned, it's Texas. You don't want to do that in a place where a lot of people own guns. This post is titled, The Fall of Entitled Aunt. Okay, so this was a big twist that just happened. It's been radio silent, so I have not had an update. Well, I finally got one. It's around 9 p.m. for me now. I've said this before, but my cousin likes to attack me for being an artist, since because she's an artist, I cannot be. This started yesterday and just ended today. Hopes are high that my entitled aunt backs off. My dad's cousin is a very talented painter. It blows my mind. My aunt kept telling me that she was going to tell my family that I was copying my entitled cousin. I blew her off like normal. She decided to get in touch, for the first time in probably 6 years, with dad's cousin. We'll call him Big Artist. Entitled Aunt emails Big Artist to ask him how she can get me in trouble for copying Entitled Cousin's art. Big Artist then contacts me knowing the kind of person Entitled Aunt is. I sent him the link to my Reddit, and he read through my posts. He emailed Entitled Aunt back asking to see pictures of my Entitled Cousin's art. That way he could see the original pieces compared to my art. Entitled Aunt sent him over a dozen drawings that Entitled Cousin had done. He reverse Googled the pictures to find out none of them, not a single one, was originally done by Entitled Cousin. I had already knew that though. Big Artist then tells Entitled Aunt that none of the pieces were original. Entitled Aunt freaked out. She started accusing Big Artist of trying to sabotage Entitled Cousin's career. Big Artist laughed at her, told her I already have my career. I have art all over the world. I don't need to come after a young artist to feel proud of myself. Your daughter's art is not her own. I've seen OP's work and I've never noticed anything being copied. I just proved to you that your daughter's art is not hers. I'm sorry, but OP is not doing anything illegal, but Entitled Cousin is. When this came out, anyone in the family who had bought art from Entitled Cousin wanted money back. They had only did it to support her. But now that the family has found out that she was attacking me and threatening me, no one wanted to support her anymore. This happened around 4 p.m. yesterday. This led to big artists posting on a social media about stealing other people's art. Entitled Aunt obviously saw this and said that she was going to sue Big Artist for defamation of character. Big Artist was not going to have this, and he said that he was just pointing out his opinions of stealing others' art. That said, it had no mention of what happened with Entitled Cousin. It was just a post about his opinions. When Big Artist told my grandma and some other family about Entitled Aunt and Cousin trying to sue him, people started turning against the aunt and cousin. No one has turned to my side yet though, besides Big Artist. And my parents, because they still believe that since Entitled Cousin was to be an artist, since she was born first, I have no place being an artist. How can the Entitled Cousin even call themselves an artist in the first place if none of those pictures are even theirs? This whole thing will eventually just come full circle though, because Entitled Cousin will realize that you can't build a career off stealing other people's work. So they can try to fake it as much as they want, but nothing's ever gonna come of it. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed, drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more. Stay beautiful, everyone, and I'll see you later.